Welcome to the Camera Dude Podcast, where we focus our lens on business. We will cover the art of business and everything in between. Join your host, Rob Moorman, a seasoned photographer and RV park owner with over 27 years of experience, as he captures insights from industry experts and fellow entrepreneurs. From mastering customer service to igniting creativity, we explore the common threads that weave through successful businesses. Get ready to click, snap, and discover on the Camera Dude Podcast.
Welcome to the Camera Dude Podcast. My name is Rob Moorman, your Camera Dude, and of course, your host. Hang out with us today to discuss all things business and life. Today, I have a mind-blowing guest, someone that I admire greatly, and someone that I appreciate the work they do in life and a lot of the things and challenges, if you will, that they've tackled in life recently. So we look forward to hearing from them. Give a big applause. The crowd goes wild for Donald Lynd.
Thank you, folks. Oh, thank you in the back row. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you back there.
See that? I love it. He's already got a fan base, and it's a big one at that. So, Donald, I'm going to break into just a little bit so that the listeners know who we are, our friendship, and how it started. There was a young guy.
Both of us.
Yeah, and he was at my church, younger than I, and working in the skate park. Our church has a skate ministry, if you will, and a whole skate park and store, and there was Donald, and all these people at church kept stating that I had to meet this guy, Donald. He wants to be a photographer. And that was our initial meeting. I don't know if you even remember that because it's been a long time.
My memory was of a holiday function the church was putting on. And I remember you gave me a roll of film. This was back in the film days, so this dates us.
Wow, we're going way back.
Either you gave me the roll of film or asked to see the film. I can't quite remember the details of that after the event, just to see if I was, completely,
capable. And you were.
Yeah, suffice. And from there, it's been 20-something years of working together.
I cannot believe it's been that long. That's the honest truth.
And I want to thank you for that, first of all, because I tell people now that if someone gives you the opportunity at that point in your career, they're putting a lot on their shoulders for many aspects. Teaching you something takes the time. The liability of you breaking something or you kicking over a 300-year-old lamp or whatever the case is, or putting your foot in your mouth, saying something in front of a client. So the liability that someone has to take on is immense, and I do appreciate that, and I want to thank you for that.
You're welcome. I'm blessed, and I always say I try to make people cry on my podcast, but you're about to turn the tables.
There we go. I knew someone's going to have tears.
And start to lay it out. So I'm excited. And when I see somebody that has something to invest in, that's what life is about, and leaving a legacy behind when I'm done doing business and you're still out there going and, using that. So that's important. Donald, before we go into other things as well, introduce yourself. Just kind of tell us, anything you want. Go deep, family life, what your education might be, any accolades you have, work background, hobbies, love life, whatever.
I come from a bit of a, single mother, so work ethic has always been something that I've strived to be better at. Sometimes we're better through parts of our life than others, but work ethic has always been important for me to see and try to emulate from my mom's side of things. Seeing a single mother work, raise two kids, working, all hours of the day. We actually got, and I shared this story a lot now with a lot of people I work with now, that we got to actually show up to work with her and didn't realize we were kind of doing tasks, but it got us to see a business operating in a hair salon. It was a hair salon, so we would fold towels and do different tasks in order to get a reward of going next door to Blockbuster, again, dating ourselves, to get to rent video games or rent VHSs. So grew up in a business, and I didn't realize that till I really started putting pen to paper for this recording. That was an early chance to see a business, see clientele come in, see how they were treated, see how you had to treat them, and then sometimes when they left, how you shared that experience with your coworkers. But you had to put on a positive face, and it was a business where you had to have return customers. So seeing some of those factors was, I didn't realize it until really, I guess I'm sure I realized it over all these years, but really analyzed it once I started preparing for this, that was a real learning experience in business at a young age. And then from there, I dabbled in different parts of different careers. I had uncles that did AC and cabinetry and all these different constructions. I tried all those things and never quite felt that was the direction I wanted to head. And then photography came to be once I realized P-Tech was an option, because my father went there, some other family and friends went there, and P-Tech had a catalog, so I perused that. I was into photography prior to that, and jumped on the P-Tech.
The word catalog also dates us.
I know we
a
are.
bit.
It's just you're going to look these words up. What is a blockbuster video?
What is that? So, well, I'm glad to hear that. Talk about one more personal thing, and you can talk about personal life throughout this as well. Feel free to do that. But let people know what else you're into. So first, define your photography career, and then tell us a little bit about any hobbies you may have.
Photography was always, and I never quite knew exactly where I wanted to land with photography, which is a perk with photography, because there's so many aspects to photography you can do. I've done weddings at the fanciest of hotels to, food truck pictures of, hamburger sliders to, headshot in the back of a, storefront. So there was always an opportunity to kind of follow your desires. Photography started assisting you back in the old days, the early millennium, 2000.
I think he just called me old.
Yeah, certainly. 2005 for working with you and seeing the different, you were doing architecture, headshots, portraits, families. So seeing that diversity in workflow was appealing. And thankfully you were able to share my name after, I begged and pleaded to pass it on to others. And so I started working with some other guys, and that blossomed into getting my name in the ASMP assisting network. So I got the chance to work with guys from California to New York to wherever, just seeing different size of productions, little productions, big productions, guys come to town that just need someone to literally watch their stuff so it doesn't walk away, to a whole team with hair and makeup. I was third, fourth assistant, PAs, and just learning the business, seeing how, these big timers do it from LA. And eventually I started doing my own thing, my own headshots, my own weddings. Started working a little more often with another studio, doing more architecture, traveled the country, doing a lot of architecture, tons and tons and tons of headshots. I'd say headshots are probably one of my favorite aspects, because I like the people skills involved. You really have to break the ice. It's more about making them at ease, helping them feel comfortable. So I've come to realize that people skills are what I like about photography more than the technical side sometimes, the chatting.
I love hearing that, because when I first met you, you were quiet.
Right.
And concerned about talking, and now you're directing large amounts of people and moving around and creating things. So I love that. Mentorship is important.
Yes.
And my hope and prayer is no thanks needed here, because it's not about me, but that you do the same.
Yes,
and you already have.
Right.
So that's what's important to me, is that we carry on. My mentor is retired now. I talked about him in the last podcast, Bruce Evanson. And Bruce now spends his time teaching people how to tie fly hooks for fly fishing. He's still teaching, but he was a photography master, and he passed that on to numerous of us. And some of the photographers I run with, most of us learned from him at some point. So that mentorship's important too. That's awesome. What's your hobby? What do you like to do?
Now it's primarily fitness. I wrote in my notes, early on there was some skateboarding through high school into my kind of early adulthood, and with skateboarding brings a lot of culture, as in music, fashion, just social life, being out, doing things. So skateboarding, you kind of just get lumped into a lot of other facets of life. So that was a bonus through high school, being in that kind of punk rock ska scene. And then after high school, floundered around a bit, maybe picked up some less than desirable habits, got into the counterculture a little deeper. Struggled with that for a short period of time, but found my way out of that. Never arrested or in jail. So
That's good.
No permanent marks on my record or anything.
Do you find that everybody at some point tests the waters?
Exactly, and I think you kind of need to see where your limits are and what your moral compass really comes down to. And I realized that it's a pretty tight ship, morally. Fortunately and unfortunately, I don't really have the fortitude to hang too deep in the darker side of things necessarily.
Well, we all get tempted by that, and we all get pulled into it.
Right.
There's definitely on this podcast, there's never any judgment about anything like that, because you could dig up my history and find all kinds of things as well that I learned not to do by doing.
Exactly. Right.
So that's the thing. Well, let's dive into business a little bit. I have, as you know, a list of questions here. And what I've admired about you, this is more of a comment than a question, is we're polar opposite in this way. I'm confessed ADHD person, medically known. I jump into things with both feet without paying any attention to where I'm going, but yet I seem to iron it out as I go. That's been my MO for a long time. But what I love about Donald Lynd is that he researches everything, but in a good way, not in a negative way. And so when I go to buy a new camera, the first person I call is Donald. Hey, I'm going to upgrade my cameras. I know you're up on the tech because you've done research, and sure enough, he has. And I usually lean in that direction. So how important is that research to you in the success and the progression that you've made in your business now?
I don't know where that started. I think as a kid, I always wanted to tinker and open things up and see how they worked. So I guess that's turned into research in a sense. Maybe not always having access to the best and the newest of things. I always wanted. Then I knew I needed to find out how to use what I have to its greatest potential. I remember some of the camera softwares and editing softwares we use. I just really had to learn how to use them to the best, and which lenses were the best value to dollar, and which camera bodies, and just all those things that I had a limited amount of resources, so I had to utilize them to the best of my abilities, and that took research to find out how best can I use this. And then I just love exploring things I'm passionate about. And for such a long period of time, that was purely photography. I'd be the guy with the camera on my neck everywhere I went, to a default sometimes annoying, but
I remember those days. I did that as well.
Right.
So we did it at the same time, actually. Perfect. Well, on that note, ask another question here for you is, in that research time, you're looking for equipment, you're looking for cameras, you have limited resources, and it appears that you were really looking to get the most bang for your buck in whatever equipment you bought to kind of up your game as a photographer. Is that correct?
That's right, exactly. Yeah, I wanted to be able to keep up with the big dogs, be hired again, have reliable equipment, have consistent work that I could always show and reproduce. So having quality equipment was important.
Cool. I'm laughing at Donald because I just took his notes off of his table and his eyes got really big because I realized I'm missing a page in my notes and I have no idea why. But hey, that's why we do this on the fly and have fun. So they're here where we can both see them, okay? I almost started laughing out loud because your eyes were pretty big. So another portion of you, sometimes business, it's innate in us, our personalities. So you have, at least by appearance anyways, an even-keeled personality, which I see as a plus. I walk into a room, let's say back when I did weddings, and there's a group of people, I'll stand up on a chair, address the crowd, bring everybody in, and I'm all over the place. But what I see for you with your even-keeled personality is that people really relate to that. And unless they're outgoing, they don't relate to me. But almost everybody relates to you. And I see that as a plus when I watch you, when we do the debutante ball together and you're directing to help pose the large groups with me and all of that. I see that as a benefit. Talk about that. Is that intentional? Is that personality? A little bit of both.
I think, through thinking about all these questions prior, I think I realized, and like you said earlier, I was quiet when you first met me. And the quietness, I think, stems from having a speech impediment. And there it goes.
Oh, wow.
Once you bring it up, you kind of, speech impediment as a youth. So I would always have issues speaking in front of people. I took speech class, speech therapy, would fail classes because I wouldn't want to give the speech in front of the class. So I had to become the analytical person in the room and then maybe collaborate with the outgoing person like yourself to execute the plan sometimes. But then after, from you, kind of, I like to say, kicking the mama bird, kicking the baby bird out of the nest sometimes, forcing you to have to eat. And I remember doing that with a few jobs where you had go over there and photograph those people. So eventually my quietness and analytical thoughts became actionable technique where I could kind of sit and, observe a room, see what needs to be done, and then approach it more methodically versus not saying this is good or bad.
I like
jumping in first and speaking first. Taking a lay of the land. I like to take a lay of the land, see where we're at, see what needs to be done, and then going in and making any changes that need to be made.
So in a way, I see that as an extension of research.
Yeah.
As if you're researching a camera,
right.
You're researching the room, you're
right.
reading the
yes.
room, who's the person to walk up to and
right.
who's not, and,
right.
and personality types and all of that you can read, which is really awesome. I love that, to see that. I see people listen to you because people listen to me because there's this loud person in the room. People listen to you because you're quiet and the room gets quiet and they begin to listen. My mentor, Bruce Evanson, the same way. I love Bruce, but he talks out the side of his mouth just a little bit with an accent. He's really quiet and you can hardly hear him. And everybody would get really quiet because they're actually listening because he was hard to hear. And I realized he controlled the crowd that way in order to derive a certain result in a photograph that he was trying to create with a group of people. So I like what you've done there to see that. A couple of other things to discuss, and they're really important, I think, and that is that you have jumped into the game of health, and I'm going to back up a minute. Forgive me. I'm going to back up. What I want to talk to you about is you had mentioned your speech impediment, and I don't share this much. Most people don't know this, but one of my clients is a school here in town for kids that are ADHD, learning disabled of some sort. They're functional, but they're not, they're a little different. Well, I'm one of those kids. I don't know if I ever shared that with you, but I spent my whole elementary life at that school. I'm honored to say that they're my client. We do their yearbook portraits now, and I work well with the kids because I understand them, and it's also a phenomenal client on top of that. So what you had to grow up with, I can relate to, because whenever they tried to pull me out and put me in regular school, bullying, and I didn't fit. I just didn't fit. And so I get that. I get everything you say from here. I really do. Other than my outgoingness, and I think sometimes some people might hide by being quiet. All that noise I make, I'm hiding behind that. Does that make sense?
Oh, certainly.
Yeah. So we're kind of the same in a way. We just go about it.
I think, fate has it sometimes come together that way. Whether it's exactly the same colors, it's the same stripes maybe, or the same stripes, not the same colors. We could sense some shared sensibilities in that way that you may have saw. And I definitely think you saw more things early on than I even saw myself.
Well, and some of that just came because I had been around longer in life.
Certainly.
And trying
much longer.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, he's right. I'm old. You're correct. Still kicking, though, I have to say. We're working every day, and I'm excited about that. So now, what I love about what you're doing, and we're going to talk business here, is let's go into health a minute. And you share what you're comfortable with, but share the journey you've been on. Maybe a little bit of what you think here in the head happened to have you at your place, and then what happened again to get you to be the perfect health that you seem to be today.
Well, like I said earlier, I dabbled in some extracurricular activities that weren't always the healthiest. And even after my school and P-Tech, I had a, college job, and then you kind of flounder around for a bit and you start meeting friends that have some of the same shared interests as drinking was a very popular one for us in particular. Turns into a couple cocktails after work, then it's a few more, and then for me, unfortunately, it turned into a couple cocktails after work, then a couple cocktails when you get home, and then a couple cocktails before bed, and then maybe it's 4 o'clock, but it's 5 o'clock somewhere, and then it's a couple cocktails. And then I turned that into, I just like craft beer. I'm a craft beer, then it's...
I remember that phase.
Yeah, so you find ways to, and nothing's, I don't want anyone to think that I think drinking is wrong or bad or whatever. For me, I had certainly found it to be a bit of a challenge to maintain that responsible drinking. Oftentimes I'd have a Gatorade bottle in my hand that may be half and half vodka, half and half Gatorade sometimes. So you just kind of turn into a crutch more than a asset to me. And then eating poorly sometimes goes along with that, because at the bars there's not always the healthiest of options, and you tend not to want to eat those when they are available.
Do you think that those two things, as we see in so many people, were masking of something inside that was bugging you?
Oh, certainly.
Or trying to pull back?
Yes. No question. It could be lack of confidence, because certainly, and everyone may not know this or may know this, the social lubrication of alcohol is clearly evident, I think. Even if I don't drink now, I can, when we have a wedding and I find out there's no bar, I don't dread it, but I know that it's going to be more of a challenge for the photos to be kind of lively looking, because the social lubrication of a bar at a wedding tends to get people a little more opened up. They're dancing, they're having a good time, which makes photos a little easier to convey the day's events and really produce, a larger catalog of imagery.
Makes sense. And people are, like you said, they're loose. They're
yes,
oiled up. They're lubricated, so to speak.
It's been around for a long time for a reason.
It has. Well, let's talk about this in a minute, because those that are listening, the health choices you made, no matter how someone derived them, or maybe they just lived a life of improper eating because they grew up that way.
Yeah.
It might be a whole other story. But tell us, first of all, share what you're comfortable with, but where you were at and where you are now, and how that's affected your work life and your personal life, actually, in the sense of you drink too much, you get up in the morning at 5:30 in the morning to go do a photo shoot or whatever it is, and the way you feel and how that affected your thinking, your ability to prepare, and so on. I mean, maybe you're better than me, but if I do all that, I don't prepare well.
I don't think anybody would say being hungover is a better way to operate. But I was, like to say, a functioning alcoholic. I never missed responsibilities, but it certainly limits your capacity to, I like to say, maximize your 100.
Nice.
I might have got to really my true 75, and I kind of regret where that could have taken me if I really was able to maximize. You're just slower. You're not at your best for your clients or yourself, which can limit where you can go in business. Never mind the physical attributes. Just mentally, you're just not as quick-witted. You're not as clever. You're not as eager even to push for that extra hour in the day. One more shot. Yeah, let's go ahead and let's reset the scene. Let's put the extra time in. Let's stay till sunset. Let's start back at sunrise. It just limits your desires to produce because you're just not at your 100%.
So if the body isn't operating optimal when it comes time for work, no matter what it is that we do to ourselves, usually, unfortunately, we overeat or eat the wrong kind or drink too much or whatever the crutches are in all of our lives. We all have something. If you're not optimal, you can't give your most, is what I hear you saying.
Exactly.
So whether you're working for yourself, your client, or for another photographer, as you did all of the above, that would affect that in a way. So I'll tell you something neat to the listeners. So I've known Donald a while, and it wasn't all that long ago. There was a picture of Donald, I think, on his Facebook page, for that matter. And on that Facebook page, he's running a marathon. And his arms are showing, and he's got guns. And everybody in my photo studio grabbed that picture and ran around showing each other and cheering him on, because you've got some LBs, and they're gone now. And you're fitter than most people that I know. And so I'm excited to have seen that change. And that has become your passion. And I also see a difference in your energy, your work level, and I never tied the two together. So I don't know if you know that. I'm trying to make somebody cry on this podcast at least once, but he's not doing it, darn it. So, but that is true. That really did happen.
I appreciate it.
Look at Donald's guns, man.
Yeah,
What's going on? Wow, that's crazy. So, but we're all pumped for you. And maybe even a little jealous at this point,
sure.
right?
Sometimes jealousy helps you kind of, I could do that too.
Yeah.
He can do it, certainly.
I'm working out
and I
now.
say, if I can do it, I am if Donald Lynd can do it, I can guarantee you, anyway, I never even considered the thought that I would ever run a mile. That was never, I truly, truly thought that I had missed that point in life, that maybe I'll jog a mile if I'm lucky one day, when I started this health journey or whatever we want to call it. So trust me, if I can do it, and I know how to convey this, I was the most out of shape. Like, I was ate poorly, drank too much, was lazy, yada, yada, yada. So if I can do it, truly, truly, anybody can do it, but it will take sacrifice. It will take dedication. It will take research. It will take hard work to get to there. That's no question about that. It's not an easy road.
And just as a friend now, encouraging you to not look at the past and look at it as lost time, but rather an education that you had to go through to get to where you are now, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
There's no, in other words, the old saying, no regrets.
Oh, no.
I mean, sure, you could say, yeah, I see that smile. You could say there's a few, but what I mean is you can't let them burden you.
Sure.
It's past.
Yes.
It's water under the bridge, whatever all those things
But
are.
it helps me relate to people now when I share my story, that I think is different than what they see on social media of the, and I don't want to judge people who have been fit their whole life. God bless them for lucky or hard work or whatever it is that made it, worked out that way.
Right.
But sometimes when people see that, they may not think it's real that they can do it. But if they could see someone that has been in the same situation they've been, it's definitely helped me share my story. And I think with a more, a little deeper setting, I don't know what the word is, deeper impact, when they know that I was the guy that was on the brink, the pre-this, the pre-that, on the edge of calamity, turning it around, now running 3 times a week, lifting 3 times a week, full health markers or everything are back on square. So I think having that experience allows me to have a better impact to others that are maybe potentially trying to change or wanting to change, or still looking how to change.
Let's take a moment and hear from our sponsors.
Are you ready to escape the hustle and bustle of the city and experience a taste of old Florida? Welcome to Sunburst RV Resort, your oasis nestled in tranquil woods and surrounded by picturesque farmland. At Sunburst, we offer modern amenities with a touch of rustic charm. Enjoy our 2 pools, our clubhouse, our game room. It's perfect for families and winter guests seeking refuge from everyday life. With full RV sites and hookups, cozy cabins, and spacious tent sites, there's something for everyone. Whether you're a snowbird seeking solace or a family looking for summer fun, Sunburst is your destination for peace, quiet, and country living. And the best part? We're just an easy country hour away from beautiful beaches and a few minutes away from the majestic Blackwater River. Explore nearby quaint towns, indulge in some shopping, and savor delicious meals at local restaurants just a scenic drive away. Escape to Sunburst RV Resort and make memories that'll last a lifetime. Book your stay now and experience the beauty of old Florida.
And I would say it's a progressive process, right? It's ongoing, never ending.
the progressive overload, as in the term in the fitness world that we use, progressive overload, and then that's the one thing I try to share, that you can't make these sweeping changes overnight. These, it's taken me, this is a 4-year journey I'm at actually this week, give or take. So it's been 4 years of slowly changing life, and I'm through the forest.
You are through the forest, and congratulations.
Thank you.
For real. I mean, that's good place to be, and it's been a blessing to watch and see. So you said that you can't change overnight. I want to tie this into business a little bit. So someone starting a business from scratch, I find the photographers or any young entrepreneur in any field wants it to happen overnight. After 27 years of business for me and counting, I want to say that I didn't have my studio where it is now immediately. It took 27 years to be where I'm at. It took 6 years to get people to start trusting me and use me over and over again. And so in business building, it's the same somewhat patience and endurance and strength that's needed to get to a certain point in your business where you're comfortable. You're earning enough revenue. You're paying other people's jobs. You're affording a location maybe, and all the overhead that goes on with business. It's not fast, and it doesn't happen overnight either. Tell me a little bit about yours, because just in the last 10 years, you've had some great name clients. One of them owned a corporation. Sadly, a very famous person passed away recently, but you photographed their homes and the subdivisions for them. He's looking at me like, who? So, there's been
a lot of things I've done, so it is hard for me to kind of go back in the Rolodex of things.
It has to do with margaritas, of course.
Oh, yes. Okay, Jimmy Buffett. Yes.
So, but those are clients that you can't just shake a stick at. That's a serious name.
Yeah, and I think potentially maybe the social media of society has changed the way people think business should happen, life changes should happen. We come from a little more old school, slower time. So yeah. I think I understood that it was going to take time to build something, and, working with you and then trying to put in my best effort there, that you'd share my name with somebody else, and then a client that you maybe didn't necessarily fit your business model, you'd pass that client on to me, and then I just knew that it was a slow, progressive build, progressive overload, adding client at a time, doing your best for each client, just slowly building. It
took me long enough to refer you, but
sure, it would make sense.
As a business owner, it's I spoke with someone recently that's now working through the studio. I won't mention their name, but it's a reputation protector. I protect Moorman Photographics' reputation viciously. I worked too hard for too many years to have somebody I hardly know come in with a camera, go to a client that's been with me 18 years, and mess it up, and I lose that client, and I get bad reviews, and they never stop talking about that. Every time they hear my name, they're going to go, oh, that guy, and then they tell the story. So I vehemently protect my reputation, and so I will put someone out there on behalf of my studio, but I hate to say it, no matter how much schooling they've had, when you get out of school, you're on the top. You get into the work world, you're back at the bottom again, because you have to prove. Because they weren't in school with you, they weren't your instructor, and that piece of paper, okay, it's important, and it got us a footing. But at least the way I saw it back then was that I had to wait so that I knew that this person was going to represent me, not pass out their business cards on my job, or show up drunk, or show up improperly dressed, or whatever it is. And so it takes a long time to build that trust. That's my fear in business. And that's why I think it takes me a long time. And even with the person I'm working with now, same thing. He's waiting. He's in that, hey, come on. And I'm like, okay, show me. And then once it's really solid, or it's a smaller job that I know that I think this person can handle at that level of their career, then I hand it out. I'll do the same thing with positioning on jobs. So we do the homeschool convention in Orlando. It's coming up. And sometimes it's not because I think someone's more skilled than another. I just know their personality, and it's going to fit here. And it helps Moorman Photos' end result be successful, if that makes any sense, by positioning people in the right spots where I think they need to be, because derives an end result for the studio and its reputation. So it doesn't always have to do with that person. So I don't know. It's something to think about.
Well, I don't know if you told me this or I picked it up, but I approach every job as my last job for that client, that it's an interview. I could have worked for this person for the past 20 years. Great. Every job's been successful, but in my head, one thing goes wrong, I'm going to lose the client. So I approach that with, show up early, where your best may not be the fanciest, but you put your best foot forward and you do your best. But I really approach that every job is an interview fundamentally, because there's a lot of people nipping at your heels.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think that was me. I always worded it, and I just said it recently to the gentleman that's with me now. But I treat every job like I'm getting paid $1 million, whether I'm volunteering to get my name out and to help a nonprofit all at the same time, or it's a low-paying job or a high-paying job. What I say is the people in the room have no idea the business deal I made with that client. So, they're only paying me half. I think I'll sit down and eat and have a drink or whatever. No. Everybody in that room is watching you. So that's also fighting to uphold my reputation by my actions, because I can mess it up myself, let alone somebody else. So if I'm doing a fundraiser and I'm not getting paid and I'm just hanging out, eating and laughing with the guests and only putting half effort, they're going to go, that photographer's not working. And God forbid, what if we had a problem? What if the digital card got corrupt, right? The files were damaged, and I saw him standing around drinking and eating with everybody. Don't hire that guy, because they don't know.
That's
what
still
they
sticks.
don't know.
That tale you tell of that never left me.
Oh, love it. That's cool.
It's unfortunate. There has been times where somebody will offer a drink, and this is years ago. Will offer a drink at a job. I just after the job.
Right.
I just don't want to look like I'm a lush and I'm boozing and this and that, and then something happens, like you said.
First impressions are everything, and then ongoing impressions are everything.
Well, I also want to kind of say too, like, if you really, I try to say, don't take a job you're going to resent. So if you really don't feel that that job at that pay rate is worth your time, don't go in resentful and having a half, measure.
I agree.
Either go in, knock it out, do your fullest, put your jacket on, show up 10, 20, 30 minutes early, give your best work, even if it's a half rate, or just don't take the job. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. There'll be other jobs. They'll find somebody else. But you don't want to take a job where you're going to resent it, because you're going to put your half measure into it, and that's not going to be good for them or yourself.
No, I agree with you on that. And it's back to the people in the room are also prospective clients.
Oh, certainly.
So you might not have liked the job, but if you said yes to it by accident, or you realized maybe this wasn't the right fit for my studio, I'm in it now.
You're in.
You got to do it.
You're in the defense.
You've got to sit down and figure it out.
Yes.
And how do I provide this service in a way that they want? And they may change it 100 times. Now, next time they call, I could say I'm not available.
Exactly. It's fine. It's business.
Yeah, it's just the way it goes. So that's important as well. Talk to me then, something that you do. What do you do in person and social media wise to make people aware of your business?
Not enough first, but
isn't that always the case?
I think I really find myself a bit weaker in that department, and I'll, unfortunately say it's because I didn't come up with that. In that time, it just wasn't quite as part of our lifestyle as it is now. But I find myself in-person relationships is definitely my stronger suit. You and Tina have shared some feedback you've gotten from clients where I've worked at a job for you, where the clients are ecstatic, they're very happy with my work, they loved working with me. That's where I feel my strong suit is in-person relationships with clientele. Granted, that may only be half the battle, but it's my strongest aspect. So I still try to stay on social media. I still try to put the work in, but I don't think it's my strong suit. But I try to watch what the kids are doing and try to post reels. And then this happened, and I'm posting this. I'm trying to keep up with that, and now it's a thing. And that so I try to keep up, but I do feel humanity likes communicating with humanity.
Yeah, agreed.
We're in our phones. it's part of business. It's just the nature of life these days. But that relationship where you saved that client, whether it's you ran from one side of the building to the other, or you showed up early to have a chat over coffee, or you got the files delivered a little quicker, or you just were more pleasant to them that day than anybody else was, whatever it is, but that communication one-on-one can really be a lasting effect, where sometimes the social media, I find, can be a little more fleeting. Has value, no question. Social media, it's huge.
My experience in that is that, well, first of all, statistics are the number one form of marketing is networking.
Yeah.
Period. Handshake marketing, face-to-face. I talked about it in our last issue that we just recorded. But I can tell you that I find it's lasting. I have a longtime client, I won't mention their names, but their kids grew up in my studio, and I asked the mom one time, both prominent people in the community, have high jobs and well-respected, and I said, there's a million photographers, and you keep coming to me. And she goes, I wouldn't go anywhere else. You're part of our family now. And it's that relationship that I was able to build with all of them, and I met them because of networking. So in the networking realm, I ended up doing a corporate headshot for the dad of these kids. He's a lawyer. And then mom came in, and then she was campaigning for something. I won't go into details into what or whatever, but we used our imaging for that. And we had photographed their child, both of them, basically from birth. They were in diapers when they started. One of them's graduating from college today. I saw it on social media. And so that does mean I've been around a long time and I have a lot less hair. But I also take an emotional proudness, if you will, and a love for my clients. That's not just walk into a room, hand out 50 business cards at a networking meeting and leave, because that's useless. I would rather sit down with 4, maybe 5 people and have deep conversations with them. Whether they use me for business or not, I want to be a part of their life so that whatever they're going through, we can be there for them. And somewhat off topic, but a network professional friend of mine that I joined NPI in 1999, which is a long time ago. And I've been a solid member ever since. And this gentleman, I knew him and his family. His father had passed. Because our networking made us so close, I attended his father's service. Well, just 2 weeks ago, a week ago, his wife passed. She was fighting cancer and all of this. And I was the second person he called. I'm in his networking group. But that's the type of relationship I feel we have to have with our clients to provide longevity. And you don't do it for business, because if you fake it, you won't make it. This is real, actually care. That's my biggest thing, is to care about these people so much that they're part of my family. They're my circle. And sure, they spend money with us, but it's so much more than that. And it seems like the business portion, the money, the revenue, it all comes because of that. But I don't do it for that anymore. In the beginning, it was, I got to sell this and do that and do whatever. And I just realized, just be a part of their lives. And they fall in love with us. We fall in love with them. And any one of my clients could call me in need, and I would drop what I'm doing and go. And I think that's the type of networking relationship that you're kind of talking about, face to face.
I think they want, most of us professional photographers are good enough to do most jobs. But I think really what it comes down to is wanting to work with somebody. They're going to spend potentially 8 hours to a week with you, to 3 hours, whatever it is. It really comes down to, do they want to spend time with you? Craftsmanship, quality of work, those are all critical. Those kind of maybe sway the final judgment, but really comes down to, do they want to spend time with you? Because there's plenty of people that are fantastic photographers that may not work because they're just not pleasant to be around, or vice versa. People that are not that great at the craft, but are fantastic to be around and are good people skills and pleasers, and that are very successful.
Busiest.
Yes.
You said very successful.
I think that's a critical aspect of the business, is people skills.
Let's move into a fun part of this. This has been a blast. We're not totally done, but is there anything that you want to throw in? We have just a little bit of time left, and we'll go into the fun questions and closing, but I know you might have come up with some questions on your own.
Well, I guess, I always like to reiterate that to do as I say, not as I do always. So I don't want anyone to think that I'm judging or I feel like I'm, any better or worse than anybody else, especially with I try to, I share my story with kind of the transition of my life a bit through health and fitness. And I may not participate in certain activities that I used to be a little more involved in, particularly drinking was a big factor. And I don't want anyone to think that I have any feelings if they drink. That's certainly do your thing. It's no problem. I just wasn't managing it as well as I could have. So that's when, definitely same thing with health and fitness. It's your journey. It's not anybody else's. Don't compare yourself to others, whether it's a walk around the block once a week. That's awesome.
More than some, less than others.
Exactly.
Right?
So don't think that you have, that's the nice thing about health and fitness. You're not competing against anybody else but yourself yesterday.
I love it. That's good advice. And you could put that, and you said it in the beginning, you're not judging. You're just changing things in your life because you felt the need for you to get to where you need to be in life. So I love that. So closing questions. I love these questions. And so we're going to go into them, have fun with them. I took them from Mr. James Lipton's TV show, Inside the Actor's Studio. So I got to give credit due where it's due, but I think it's a blast. So have fun with this, relax, and we'll kind of coast into this, elaborate a little if you want. What is your favorite word?
New.
Nice.
I love that. New. I love, I don't know if it's because it helps me feel like there's something else out there to keep kind of looking towards, but new music, new television, new movies, new technology. I do like the newness of things. I listen to old music, but I keep the new playlist as my go-to because I like to stay involved in what's current. Now, I don't like to watch the news per se, but new technology, new music, new movies. My girlfriend always wants to watch classic stuff, but I tend to want to know what's the latest release of things. I'm not sure why that is, but I do like the newness of things.
That's a good lesson for me. As you get older, it's not that you don't like new, it's that you have a comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I'm on a long car trip, right away, the Pandora channel or whatever, I use iTunes, Apple Music, and I'll go right to the old stuff. And I do it because it's a comfort zone. But the truth is, I love music in general, and I love hearing new music. So what you just said is a lesson for me, that's for sure. All right, what is your least favorite word?
Can't.
Nice.
Can't. I say it a lot in my own life. It's, like I said, do as I say, not as I do. But I don't like the idea of can't. I really feel like there's always a solution, whether it's logistical, scheduling, sometimes money, parts, whatever it is. There's something we can do to make something work. But I do have plenty of holes in my life where I say can't, and I do struggle with those. But it is something that I try to work on. It's not something I definitely don't value can't. So
awesome. Okay. Well, and it seems like the word can't is almost like a permanent roadblock when really it's not.
Right.
I
know it's not, and so I definitely try to find the ways around that.
All right. I love that. There's an old saying. I would give credit to the person that came up with it. I don't know who it is, but it's those that say it can't be done need to get out of the way of those that are doing it. And it's my favorite. And I used that saying when I started my photography business because many people said, well, that's not a business. However, there's an entire association that I was a member of, and they were all making a living. And so I did it. All right. So the next one's kind of funny. What turns you on? And no, not intimately.
Well, speaking of what you just said, solving logistical problems. I do like solving the problems. I like trying to find the way through the blocked wall,
right?
The can't. Find the way through the can't. I didn't understand how I'd get in shape, but I did a lot of research and I figured it out. So finding the way to solve a problem is something I enjoy, but I've realized through all this process that it's not always it's not always a logistical problem. Sometimes there's emotional problems in life that your significant other may not appreciate your logistical thinking in regards to those problems. Sometimes you have to sit and let the other half of your work.
The thing about relationships is that sometimes it shows us our own imperfections, and it's really not that the other one's nagging. They see a hole and they want to fix it for us. And that's a whole nother podcast.
Right. I'll
we'll
save
come
that
back
for next round too.
Yeah. Anyhow, all right. So what turns you off?
Realizing not all problems are logistical. That I do have I like to say I'm kind of an old robot. I'm just 1982. I'm still waiting for my software update. I tend to approach everything very mechanical and think I can solve it with putting a square peg in the hole.
So
but it's not the case.
If you're a 1982 computer, I must be an old mainframe
right.
from the 70s,
sure.
right? Yeah, thanks a lot. All right, what sound or noise do you love?
I love nature at sunrise.
Beautiful.
The complexity, I don't know, it's not just the sound, but thankfully I have all my senses still. The sound of nature, the birds, you hear the leaves rustling, maybe there's a possum or something else in there, and the water crashing. I do a lot of running by the water, just the sound of the water, and then I don't know if the atmosphere has changed that early in the day, but just everything feels a little crisper, just a little fresher. The smells, maybe that comes parts of that, bleed into the sounds, just the nature in the morning, whether it's the park, the forest, the beach, nature in the morning.
So what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Teaching.
Huh, fascinating.
Yeah, I like the idea, I think it relates to this logistical side of my brain that I do feel like, you can solve most problems with thoughtfulness. If you give it time, you get the team together. And that's the nice thing about working with a team. You and I have worked together plenty of times, and we've been able to approach jobs that maybe you on your own, I on my own would not have got nearly as complete, as efficiently, or as well. So teaching a student, and I love sharing knowledge of health and fitness, photography, and seeing that the glint in their eyes when they realize, oh, now I see an opening in that door, that open mind. They see that path through the problem they were having has kind of been enlightened.
I love it. I've always enjoyed teaching and had a classroom of beginning photographers, that mostly in the artistic realm, not in the commercial world like we are. But when the light bulb goes off, as they say,
right.
it's absolutely wonderful as a teacher to see
the
somebody.
Sharing aspect it's like giving a gift.
Yeah,
it's way more valuable than getting a gift 99% of the time.
I can't even add to that because you said it perfectly. Giving a gift is the absolute way to do that. So a couple of other things. I want the world to know how to find you, even though we do the same thing together. That's not what this is about. You just mentioned working together, which you need to come back because we could really do a whole podcast on teaming up with your peers in the same industry so that we're a stronger industry rather than competing and pushing each other down and everybody wins. I see that as a whole nother podcast, is having you come back. But before we get too far, this microphone in front of you, tell the world what you're up to right now and how can they find you.
My photography Instagram is probably my primary updating place. It's Donald Lynd Photography on Instagram, DonaldLynd Photography. My website, donaldlyndphoto.com. Those are my two outlets to show my work photographically, share the latest and greatest work I've produced, and try to research what the next, trend is.
There's the research word.
Yes.
I love it. So also tell us, those are good, and I hope that they seek you out. Also let us know here how they can find you in the world of health right now in this present time.
Well, I just started an Instagram page called Coach D in St. Pete to help share some of my experiences through the health and fitness journey. It's very new and a bit intimidating to get into that, field of social media because it's such a deep field. There's a lot of people, influencers and all these different things, but I do think I have a unique story to tell that may help others that may feel intimidated by some of the other outlets that are available. I started coaching at a local gym called In Motion Fitness. It's a small business, woman-owned gym in St. Petersburg. Would do group fitness every day of the week, Monday through Saturday.
So someone can come there and ask to be a part of Donald Lynd's class and sign up specifically with you?
Certainly.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's good to hear. So now they can find you in both worlds.
Right.
And you won't get lost. Well, Donald, thanks for being here. I'm excited. You are basically my first guest, my first podcast, and I'm really looking forward to doing a few more of these with you and, of course, continuing to team up in the world of photography. And I probably need to sign up for a couple of health classes. I can guarantee you that. So thanks for that. So listeners, hey, thank you for hanging out with us on the Camera Dude podcast. Remember, always reach out to those that have paved the way ahead of you for success. They are a great resource. Until next one, stay safe, be peaceful, and always look up for directions in life. Catch you on the next Camera Dude podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to the Camera Dude Podcast. Don't forget to visit us at cameradudepodcast.com for more episodes and exclusive content. Connect with Rob Moorman on moormanphoto.com to explore his professional photography. And when you're ready to hit the road, make memories at sunburstrvresort.com. Until next time, keep capturing moments and chasing dreams. See you on the next episode of the Camera Dude Podcast.